saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. There's nothing to you otherwise.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man Podcast, where we talk about how to become a better man, take responsibility for our mission, create value for others, and the many failures and lessons we've learned along the way. Stay dangerous.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man Podcast. I am your host, Adam Thooft, joined by co-host
John Kostohris.
Was good, John?
Hey, how you doing, Adam?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, dude.
How's the weather there in Australia?
In Australia? I don't know if that's actually a good Australian accent. I just kind of whipped that out. I don't know. But I hope the weather in Australia is doing really well for you guys. Though I think it's fall for them now because it's like the opposite.
Oh, he gave it away. I was trying to make it sound like we were doing online and you're like enjoying a nice beach vacation. And now he's sitting in the room with me. So.
No, you didn't tell me that freehand. So I'm like, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, man. Well,
the gig is up, John.
Maybe
abort.
Maybe I shouldn't be like a travel guide then. Apparently I didn't sell the gig very good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you. I don't know what you were saying before, but hopefully it's more interesting than like Australia.
I am just really excited. Been really excited lately. Just kind of for life and kind of what we're starting to build with our Dangerous Men's Club. Kind of as that this podcast is an extension of, because I just really like kind of where we're going and where like the vision that's being cast by you, by me, by like some of the other guys, by Pete, Dan, Jimmy, the other guys in it, and kind of like where we're kind of going with it and what we're trying to do with it. Just because we just had like our main meeting this last like Saturday, and it's just like it's kind of been hyping me up because I'm like, oh, it's real. We're gonna be sending it now.
Dude, things are starting to gain traction and momentum. Yeah. Like, oh, dude, Dan gets up, just for everyone listening. Dan gets up in front of our, imagine this, we're in our clubhouse, which is our very aesthetic basement, which we've totally rigged out. Yep. And our big 8-foot whiteboard, and he just pops off, dude. Like at the end of our meeting, he gets up and he just starts from the heart, just like, this is the state of America. And this is like this is why it's so important for us as men to not be like some of our dads, or no offense to any of our dads, to some of the fathers that a lot of people have. Yeah. Just guys that are like Jim, one of our guys who's like, he's had to, take on, I won't tell too much of a story, but he's had to take on adoption of a couple of his nephews. And now he's like becoming a dad. And
he's just like functionally almost a dad now.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's not like he, met a girl and they, dated for a little bit, fell in love, got engaged, got married, did some other things. And then there's a child. It's, there's some children now.
Yeah. And these boys are awesome, by the way, if they're listening. I know they listen to this show, which is so cool. We love you guys a lot. But there's this reality of like, he's telling this story of, and his little boy there is looking up at him and just grabbing his arm, his muscle, his own arm. And he's like kind of looking, flexing his muscles, looking at Jim, and he's like looking back and forth. Like he's
because Jim gets in the gym.
Yeah. Freaking get it, dog. He does, dude. He's showing up to these 4 p.m. workouts with a group.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're like the top person, or you lose the most weight or calories, or however they have like a leaderboard, right?
Yeah.
They literally give you your money back. And so he's like, I'm going to win this shit. And he shows up and goes hard. And they're like, you should like tone it down a little bit. And he's like, fuck no, like I'm getting this shit.
What do you mean? I'm trying to make some money.
He's like, I'm getting my money back, dude. Yeah. If all I have to do is actually work out as hard as I can and actually beat all these other scrubs, like
it's also like, this is why I'm here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
oh man. Anyways, get it, Jimmy. And so he's looking at his little boy's looking at him and comparing muscles. And anyways, going back to Dan, there's this kind of, that's like an image, right? Of like, we all looked at our dads And there are lots of dads that, I mean, I'm just going to say it, weak sauce and aren't going after their dreams. They gave up on their dreams a long time ago. They aren't healthy. Their body's falling apart. You know, they can't stand out of a chair anymore. They don't run. They don't exercise. They don't eat well. They're just not a good example. They don't have energy. They're not in a good mood. And your sons are looking at you.
Yep.
Sizing up the arms, sizing up the communication skills. They're looking to their dad to lead them. And at that age, they don't realize that they're not that amazing and they aren't getting after it until later. And then they realize like, oh, that's my standard now for life. And they set this super low bar that it's sad because there's a movement of men waiting to rise up to change the culture of America and become strong leaders. And enough is enough. Let's let the bullshit of like the sexual revolution and the bullshit of like people that are, you know, whatever, like the LGBTQ, like whatever,
7365
ABC
471
BLT sandwich, like whatever, dude. Like, I mean, come on, dude. This like enough is enough. We need some strong ass men to stand up for this. Yeah, and those strong ass men are medicated with television, their phones, and jacking off with the pornography in the basement.
Just saying it like it is.
Yeah, we're dropping bombs today because enough is enough.
It's been like permeated through culture now, though, right? Like there's like a trope in like TV shows and movies and stuff where it's like, oh, son, do what I say, not what I do. I'm like, bitch, please. Like, all like, you're like, as sons, we do what we follow what our dads do for actions, not necessarily what they say. Now, if what they say follows up their actions, then we'll do what they say, right? But like, because there's like, in a way, like we want to respect our fathers. We want our fathers to be badasses. But at the same time, respect isn't something that respect is earned. It's always earned, no matter what. Like,
yep, come on.
Dads have to earn their sons' respect in some ways. Now, obviously, as they're growing up, when they're a little kid, it's really easy to earn your kids' respect when they're like 2 and like can't take care of themselves. And you're like, wow, Dad's so tall and strong and he can pick me up and I can like fly and be a potato sack and all and ride on his shoulders and see everything. It's cool because they're like 3 years old and you don't actually like.
And that's so awesome.
And it's great. So like good. It's like that respect is very much given by sons when they're very little.
Yeah.
But as we as sons get older and so we get to the point where we can start seeing our dad's flaws. Now, obviously, like no man is perfect, but if there is some pretty huge flaws and there's no like evidence that he like is working on them or like really trying to get after it,
right?
It can really like that can wear off on us and be like, oh, so being a man, it's okay if I do that.
Right.
And I feel like that wears off. And that's kind of like the trope that I find really annoying. Also with all of like if you've watched any like animated sitcom kind of like shows, I'm thinking like, I don't know, Family Guy, American Dad, Rick and Morty. The dad of the family is super weak.
Right. Scrawny little.
Well, maybe not as much. I don't know if American Dad, I haven't really watched any of that. I just know like those kind of shows, like The Simpsons, like
yeah.
The dad is not masculine.
Right. They're just skinny or fat or, you know,
skinny or fat or just kind of a loser
on the couch. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's a pushover. Like it's just not like, it's not what we want to be for men. It's not what sons want their fathers to be.
Right. They want their fathers to be like Superman.
Yeah. Everyone wants their dad to be badass.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and they should be.
Yeah, it's like
that's like the purpose.
It's like the playground argument of my dad can beat up your dad. Like we want to be able to say that to anybody. You know, like I don't care if your dad's Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Mike Tyson. My dad can beat up your dad. You know, like that's what we want to be able to say. You know,
dang. So I have a confession to make. My dad's actually Mike Tyson. So,
wait, you're What?
I'm so confused. I was like, oh no, no, he's not. Never mind. We're moving on. Great. Nope. Anyway,
John is not Mike Tyson's son.
I was just trying to get that like shock impact where you're like, we want our dads to be like Mike Tyson. I'm like, he actually is. And then Adam's like, what? I'm like, no.
I know John's dad, so or
he
do
wasn't,
I?
He wasn't fooled at all. But this actually isn't our topic at all today. But just
it is now,
bro. I mean, it's always our topic.
Yeah,
this is like this is what we're about.
We're about like wanting to inspire people to be strong men and really understand why it's so important for that to be the case.
Right.
Because like a lot of the time, I think in society, there's a lot of men out there, especially like I think about like in the hip hop scene or rap scene or whatnot, where they're basically just trying to like, make themselves like basically be the shit, like, I can, have sex with all these women. I do the drugs. I can,
right.
If I want to, I can have anybody I want get murdered. Like,
I don't just have one chain. I have 2 chains.
2 chains.
Damn, did you just say that? Okay.
But like,
right.
Like all these things where it's like really trying to build themselves up. So I'm like, I'm the man. But like a lot of the time, if you ever run into like when you're listening to rap music, sometimes it kind of sounds badass. But if you've ran into those people in real life, you're kind of like, like you're just always hyping yourself up all the time. And it's like, I don't know if I necessarily like want to be around you. I don't know a ton of these people that are like this, but that's also probably because when I run into them, I don't want to run into them again. like it's
just a freaking tool. And you're like, pass.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Now some of the stuff is like, okay, yeah, if you've done some really cool shit, like that's good to like share about. So to a case where it's like, hey, if I can do it, other guys can do it too. I feel like
100%.
Me and John do that a lot on this podcast. Talk about, hey, like this is what we're doing. Hey, if we can do it, you can do it too.
Sharing wins.
Yeah, but like even when we're talking about like Jimmy and stuff, like getting after it in the gym, really trying to inspire people with like, no, he's going full out, even though he's probably like already one of the most in shape guys probably in that class. And like just the amount that we can go after it, but also to be able to tell other guys, hey, this guy's going after it. Hey, this guy's going after it. Hey, Jimmy's really going after it in the gym, and he's really taking on like a stupid amount of responsibility that he doesn't really need to take on with caring for his nephews that are now essentially are his adopted sons in a way. Pete with I mean, he's had a lot of his weight off for a while now, but like man lost like a stupid amount of weight.
Come on.
And like really improved his life, and like the amount of vision that Pete has for like what he wants to do with stuff is like just kind of blows me away whenever I'm like freaking talking to him, because I'm like, wow. And I'm like, I bet he learned this because he's like, oh wait, I know where I'd been and I know how far I've come, so we can keep going. And like the way that,
can we pause on that for a second real quick? I'm at Pete's house.
Yeah,
he is an incredible cook when it comes to like, he's got a smoker, a grill. The man's on like, he's amazing with a skillet and a steak. I mean, anything, dude. And so we have meat on the smoker, right? We're in his kitchen. And this was probably about a week ago. And we're sitting down and we're eating dinner and we're talking. And we were supposed to get together and like work on a project. And kind of ended up just throwing the project out the window that day. And he's sharing about what's going on in his life. And it ends up being one of the most meaningful nights of my life. Because he challenges me. He's like, we're talking about him as a man of mission or vision, right?
Yeah.
He's just going off about like, wow, like, how often do we beat our heads against a wall trying to like get things done? And yet like he encounters the most genuine like tax person ever that helps him get all of his affairs in order, and just I'm not going to tell his whole story, but powerful experience with this woman who helps him through all of his taxes.
Yeah.
And he leaves a different man, like incredible story. And he's just like talking this woman up, and he's encouraging me. And he's like, sometimes you just got to sit down and like share vision.
Yeah.
And talk about where we're going and like what's happening, and like just spend time with each other as men, and like have this great time of, sharing a meal. And like we ended up throwing that productivity out the window, but like I walked away with vision of like, wow, we're going to get together. He said this, we're going to get together and talk about something amazing. And when we're not even really realizing it, like the fruit is going to come, like, because we've been putting our heart in the right place.
Like you're just going to be hanging out, and you're going to just like be productive just because.
Have an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2 weeks, we're going to have the best idea we've ever had, because we weren't forcing it. We were just getting together and getting inspired. And anyways, he's been teaching me so much about that, but I wanted to pause and drop a nugget when you said vision casting. This guy's just, rocking my socks right now. Like I'm working through some deep stuff because of him, and he's just really inspiring me in that. So
yeah. And like Dan, who's been on the podcast, who's also,
these are all guys in our Dangerous Men's Club.
Yeah,
by
they're
the way.
both Jengdals, they're brothers.
Yeah.
Both really good at vision casting. Like when Dan, dude, like it's like, honestly, I don't think
back to our first story
like,
of
this podcast
of Dan getting up.
and kind of our Dangerous Men's movement wouldn't have like at all happened if it wasn't for Dan
and Jindal.
Dan Jingdal like encouraging us with like certain books, and like really like casting his vision of like, yo, we as men today like need to freaking wake the fuck up and start getting after it. And I think that was just like insane, but also like
his stories just blows me away.
It blows me away, but not only is he saying it, but he's also like walking the talk. Like he's built his own successful like videography and photography business, and like been able to build a lot of stuff. Like his accolades could probably be a little bit more, but like I've seen some of this stuff and I'm like blown away with how good it is. Yep. And like, so he's been able to have like,
he's an expert with the cinema, with the camera, with the video. The guy just, the B-rolls to die for, dude.
It's great.
He's an expert at his craft, man.
It's really, really cool to see like him actually like doing super well, and also being like, yo, we got to step up. And so it's like, it's not just like, he's just talking the talk, but walking the walk, like I said. And
yeah,
it's just so cool to be like surrounded by these guys, and actually like going after like being better as a man. Like even when prepping for like this podcast and doing other stuff within like, okay, we're trying to figure out, how do we build like software and stuff so we can, provide more value to guys in the future. And like, you're shooting me off a bunch of ideas, John. And I'm just like, how does this man have time to work full time and send me all this stuff? How's he getting all this done? like I'm very much blown away by a lot of the stuff that you get done. And I'm like, wow, like I would have never like thought of that, and all the technical stuff with the technology, with the sound equipment. Like we wouldn't have really, like, this podcast sounds good because John is an audio engineer and actually like has a good ear and all that stuff. So like, but that being said, with having all these guys around that are actually like going after it, seeking excellence,
come on,
like in our Dangerous Men's Club, we're like, it propels us forward. And I think that's like so helpful in days when we're like really trying to go after like, providing value for people, like building like our careers and our businesses, and like trying to actually like improve the world and make a good, like a good future for our families and the generations to come. Like to actually have guys to do that with too. Cause there's some of these like big, like, like Alex Hormozy, Andy Frisella, these are people that say like, hey, there's going to be a period of time in which like you might be alone because you just need to cut your friends out because they're not helping you, achieve your goals, go after your stuff. I am so thankful to have you, John, in my life, and to have Dan in my life, and these other, and Pete and Jimmy, and like, you know,
Yeah.
like to have this movement so we can actually like go after something and not be alone. And I think that's what our whole, like our Dangerous Men's Club, Dangerous Men's Movement, this podcast, that's like what we're about.
Yeah.
Speaking of dropping bombs, damn. All right.
Wow. We're just going to title this episode Dropping Bombs. No. I just got to like sit with that punch to the, I mean, like you threw a great question. Like you threw a lot of great things. Let me dissect this a little bit.
Yeah, I was going off a little bit there.
No, that was perfect. I was so glad you did. What are you doing to actively create a better future for you and your family? We're talking about Daniel here.
Yeah.
Talk about a man. He's got one girl, another one on the way.
Yeah.
An awesome, beautiful wife. His family is just, you know, they're growing and thriving, and he's leading the charge, you know. And every time I talk to the guy, every time we text, every time he throws a voice message, every time we're on the phone, get coffee, you know, he's one of my best friends with all of you guys, in this movement. And I always get a sense that he's doing something new or moving the needle forward on making his future for his family better.
Yeah.
Like I see it from him so clearly. And he's and we all in our own ways of different gifts. Like that's for him, I feel like is a beacon for all of us.
Yeah.
I feel like if we could just anchor, like create a better future for our family. Like Dan is leading the charge. Holy cow. Like he's not just hungry. Like he's actually doing things.
Yeah.
He's actually, you know what I mean? Like, he's actually moving his business forward. He's actually networking and he's, you know, and I think he's doing it because, in a certain light, kind of one thing we're talking about is this association, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think if I could pull one big word out, association, like, you know, it's kind of like, if you hang around, the jocks in school, right?
Yeah.
When you're a kid, people look at you and they're like, oh, you're a jock. When you hang out with like the Dungeons and Dragons and, you know, board game, you know, I don't want to say nerds. Yeah. Like, in the best way, or worst, you can decide.
You decide.
It's time to duel. I don't know why that reminded me of.
It's time.
That's probably what they do. That's probably what they're doing when
they probably are playing Yu-Gi-Oh. There's definitely some. I don't know how many people are still playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but there's definitely some people out there.
If you still play Yu-Gi-Oh and your arms are skinny, you still play Yu-Gi-Oh, but lift some weights. All right, moving on. Anyway,
so
it makes your life
duel
better.
People.
Then you can really duel people. Yeah. Anyways, could you never mind. Not gonna get into that can of worms. We just get lost on Yu-Gi-Oh. So, anyways, point being, if you're in school and you hang out with like the board game people, and then people associate you with being like the board game people, or you know, the smart people, whatever, you know, you pick your crowd, you know, pick your lunch table seat. Anyways, it's like that's kind of the association of like who you spend your time with, who you hang around, and who you associate with. That's kind of like who you are and what your personal brand is and how you're recognized. And that's oftentimes kind of the people you become like. Like if we're going to throw a general, one of my favorite general statements, the 5 people you spend your most time with, right? Are the people you become. Yeah. You're a sum of the 5 people you spend your most time with, however you want to phrase it.
To use a fancy word, aggregate, which is just like if you combined all of them.
Yeah. And that comes back to association. And I just, you know, Dan's like, okay, if I'm going to work with, you know, schools and I'm going to do video for them, guess what? I'm going to get on LinkedIn and I'm going to start building relationships with like people that are principals of schools. And like, you know, I'm going to start to go to their events and I'm going to start to get into that. And that's like one, there's so many examples, but I think another one too is just like what you're saying with this whole group is about. It's like, you know, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things I could say, but like, I'm just grateful that we're all able to associate with each other.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's definitely people I've cut out of my life because they don't help me create they don't actively help me create a better future for my family.
Yeah.
They don't have a positive influence on who I'm supposed to become.
Yeah.
You know, like I've mentioned in the last episode last week about Mountain Dew and how I tied my identity to that, right?
Yeah.
Go, guess what? The people that promoted Mountain Dew in my life and the people that like kept that a thing, probably not like a great influence on me in that way. And funny enough, Adam was actually one of them, but we were both in middle school at 6th grade, and we
Yeah.
both didn't know any better. So
Yeah.
we both kind of moved on from that together.
Yeah, we moved on at like pretty much the same time where it's like, oh, we're not really doing do anymore. Well, okay.
That's exactly what it was.
All right.
But like there are people that promoted that to me, and that made it kind of stick in my mind as like a good idea to try them out. And Adam wasn't the one. I actually dragged him into it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's all your fault.
I'm not gonna get caught up on this. It is all my fault.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my rant on association.
Uh-huh.
It is truly. I will drop this bomb. Association is the number one cheat code that I use and have used to completely shift and change my life in 2 years.
Wow.
And just so people back home are understanding this can go for books. This can go for what you watch on YouTube. This can be the actual people you try to get around and mindset you try to adopt, who you listen to, who you take advice from. I'll cut it out this, like, a big idea, like, do you want to become that person talking to you or being around you or giving you advice? Do you want to end up like they are right now? If the answer is no, put up a damn filter that goes block, because you don't have time for that shit.
Yeah.
But if they're like a guy like Alex Hormozy or Russell Brunson or Grant Cardone or Danny or Adam or Jimmy or Peter, these guys that are getting after in life, heck yeah. You know, take that advice. Let that change you. Like, see them getting after it. See Adam crushing goals. He's about to get to 200 pounds in his bench press.
Yeah.
He's leveled up from, what did you start at before this bulk?
For this bulk, like just before this bulk, my working weight was like 165.
Yeah, and he's about to hit 200.
Yeah,
that's how many weeks?
That's 200 working weight, by the way, not 1 rep max.
Yeah, what's working weight?
Working weight is like what you actually do for reps. So like
how many reps?
Like 7
for every set. For like 4 sets?
Yeah, like 1 or 2 sets, then maybe it drops down to like 5, but generally trying to hit 7 per set.
Yeah. And yeah, man, so that's kind of my TED talk on this whole association thing. But seriously, it can shift your life, who you are modeling. But I think it's this association with people that are that are incredible.
But then also like being able to build those people up to the people that you're around as well. Because the more
what do you mean by that? That's intriguing.
Yeah, I think it's just because, like I was saying earlier with like the hip hop scene, it's kind of weird. Like with the people that are like tooting their own horn all the time, you don't really want to be around those people. And it's just like, oh, I got all this stuff. But like sometimes it's just kind of like, hey man, like we're all freaking just, human men trying to, get after some stuff. And for me, I like me talking about myself. Sometimes I'm like, if I were to talk a lot about the stuff that I'm trying to do, sometimes it's like, okay, sometimes there's a place to like share it and it's good. But if I'm doing all the time, I kind of feel like shit. But if other people are actually telling me like, hey man, you're doing this well, then I'm like, wow, okay, I'm actually doing these things well. I think for me, sometimes it's just like hard for me to know exactly what I'm like really doing well, because a lot of the time I like always am like, I need to get better because I'm not doing good right now. It's very easy for me to see like the things I'm doing wrong.
Sure.
So when other guys point out what I'm doing right, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm doing a lot of stuff right too. And
yeah,
to be able to do that to other people, for other people, just kind of like what, me and John have been doing on this podcast, talking about Dan, Pete, Jimmy, and like being able to hype them up. Like the importance of doing that for other guys and then them doing that for you, I think just builds everyone up, and there's no like tearing down. Because I think when we hype ourselves up a lot, sometimes other people can be like, oh, well, I'm not doing that. I don't have a successful photography business. So man, I'm doing shit.
Yeah.
But like, no, that's not my thing. Like,
yeah.
And I'm doing well in my own right, and my things that I'm doing. And to have like, to have John, have Pete, have Dan tell me those things that I'm doing well is good for my upbuilding and for my encouragement and to build my hope and to give me even more motivation to go after and be like disciplined to go after my dreams and build things instead of like being like, oh man, that guy did the thing.
So good.
I feel like shit. Like, it's more like, oh yeah, I do these things. This is me.
Yeah.
And just also like, I think when we hype up certain people and then eventually like hype up certain people and then eventually meet them, we're like, oh, this guy's awesome. So
yeah,
yeah,
that I love what you're saying. Well, and I kind of want to close on this thought of like, I have a couple little examples of that, but I was actually, reflecting on this. Peter Jingdahl, he's one of the best guys I've seen at just the word we often use for what Adam's describing is edify.
Yeah.
Edification. Edifying. You edify somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it today, and I actually tweeted about it. I kind of want to read his tweet, but I was like, what feels better than proving how cool you are to others?
Uh-huh.
Being edified.
Yeah.
To someone influential. So it's kind of like The Rock keeps seeing your name cross his desk, and he really wants to meet you.
Yeah.
Something about it it hits different, right? When people can't help but praise you to others, and you aren't even looking.
Yeah.
You aren't even doing anything about it. Like, it just kind of happens behind the scenes, right?
Uh-huh.
And so there's just something so profound about that. But Alex Hormozy, which is a really successful entrepreneur and influencer on YouTubes and Instagrams and all the things and stuff.
Yeah.
He kind of talks about your brand, whether it's your personal brand, your identity, who you are, what you associate with, or like if you're Nike, right?
Yeah.
He's like, if you partner your brand and Tiger Woods uses your stuff and people see Nike with Tiger Woods, and if people like Tiger Woods, they associate you with Tiger Woods, and then your brand is liked. And there's something about like kind of them talking up your brand, right?
Uh-huh.
And to others, it's like, wow, they're edifying this brand. This brand is so good. And he's like, it's the difference between like a $5 t-shirt versus the same $5 t-shirt with like the North Face on it.
Uh-huh. Which then becomes a $15 t-shirt.
Yeah. Or if you go to REI, a $45 t-shirt.
Yeah.
If you're in outdoorsy gear.
Slap an LV on that, it's a $500 t-shirt.
Yeah, dude. Or make it a purse, and then who cares? You can charge whatever you want.
10 grand? 20 grand?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyways, like there's this idea of association and edifying and these big words and stuff, but it all comes down to like, when Peter is actually, another friend, to wrap the idea here, I have got a good friend out in Ohio, and I always get these messages from him. I was like, yeah, I was talking to this musician, because I'm a musician, or I was talking to this like person in my church, and it's like, and I was telling him all about you, dude. And like, he's one of my best friends, and he's like, and so I'll go to Ohio and meet all these people, and they're like, man, I've heard so much about you, John. I'm like, really? Like, and going back to my tweet, it feels way better than like me trying to like prop myself up as like a really talented musician when I just walk up and like people have been talking me up. And I think that's the value of this, what we're trying to build in this movement of the Dangerous Men's Club, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Is like, honestly, like we just genuinely talk about each other in this way because when you see a dangerous man getting after it, like, dude, you can't help but like want to tell people about them because this is your homie and they actually care about you. And they actually like, you, Adam, like put the time in to like come up with ideas for the podcast, for our movement, for what we're trying to do and helping guys. And like, you put ideas and work into like your fitness, into like your nutrition, like, dude, I mean, like, you know what I mean? And yeah. And it's just like, I can't help but when I'm working out with somebody, I'm like, dude, my buddy Adam's doing this bulk, and I just, boom, edifying you and just talking you up and like, bro, he's doing this. And like, let me show you a photo. I'm like, this is just my bud, But it's like, I know you care about me, but I also know you're doing something that's worth being inspired by. And I think that's something like I think you said this earlier, bro. You hit the nail on the hammer, and I want to come back to and end on it, which is like, I think people really can feel alone when they leave behind average, mediocre, family, friends that don't give a shit. And they share their dream. Like this happened to me. Share my dreams. And they're like, do something reasonable, John. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I could be like, I want to climb Mount Everest. And they're like, you got to work out a lot for that. And it's like,
well, no shit.
It's like, shut the fuck up and encourage me, you know?
Yeah.
And like,
I know it's going to be hard. That's one of the reasons why I want to do it.
Bro, but when I get into Dangerous Men's Club on the 3rd Saturday of every month, dude, when this room is full, bro, and I get up and I share an idea, or I get on the whiteboard and start teaching an idea, and guys are like, dang, John, like, thank you for sharing this. And like, bro, like, yes, like, how can I help you? Like, support you in like you learning how to write better and how to like public speak better. Like you guys generally get pumped for me when I'm winning and you encourage me to win. And I'm like, yeah, I want to kind of do this for the podcast, or I want to revamp the room like that. And you're like, let's do it. Not like, that'd take a lot of time. You work full time. It's like, you know, anyways,
bitch, please.
Yeah, I just, that's part of changing culture in America, man. And can we talk about each other? Are we worth talking about to others? Go and live your life. And this is what I do every day. I try to live my life so that people will talk about me. Yeah. And I don't think about it. I just genuinely try to like focus on others and help people and work hard and actually like have a purpose that moves me to the core, so that I can't help but show up with everything I am and try to become the best I can. Because I know like one day I'm going to get married, have a wife and kids. I'm single right now, but like I want to be that dad that kid looks at, and it isn't just like a 3-year-old facade. Like I actually care about him and can help him move to the places he's meant to go. And I'm equipped to do that. Like that's a duty and responsibility on me that actually makes me really excited to get up every day. And I know I'm so far out from it in a way, but like if you started with this podcast 1.5 years ago, you could probably hear where I was at now and where I'm at now, there, then, and now. And it's like, there's no comparison. There's no sizing up if you're listening to this. Like one reason Adam and I do this show is to just be vulnerable and share our journey. It is a journey, and I'm getting better every day, every week, but this is like one thing that fuels me is like, not only is this room going to be full on 3rd Saturday of the month with men hungry to like actually go and be great and build this environment of guys that like build each other up and actually have the momentum to do it because they're doing it together. But like I see this being like hundreds of thousands of guys, dude. Like we're packing a stadium full of men that are going to go out and change America. It ain't going to be some politician, bro. It's going to be a movement of men that want to go and actually be strong ass men and actually stand up for what's right. And I'm just blessed to have a dream that's not crushed by you guys, and that you actually say, I want to be a part of that. And now instead of one dude with an idea, we got 5 and more. And this is just like the core guys. Like there's a lot of other men joining into this, and all of you listening. And so that's just, if we're just driving from the heart, that's me from the heart, man. That's what I got. And
that's great. I love that. I'm excited. For
take us home
when our future sons can look up at us or look down on us if they're really tall. I don't know.
Your sons are probably going to be pretty tall.
My sons are going to be
You're tall.
pretty tall. And even when they're in their 20s and in their 30s, be like, wow, my dad is a badass. Freaking claim your greatness, guys.
Share the show if you want to help other men embrace danger and become truly great. You've been listening to The Dangerous Man. Join us next time. Until then,
claim your greatness
and stay dangerous.